Don't kids get sex ed at school? That's a fantastic question. I'm so glad you asked. Hi, I'm Jen Elledge. I'm a sexual health expert here to help you talk to your kids about sex and growing up. And one of the most common questions I get is, don't kids get sex ed in school? Why do we need to take the talk for? There's so many unique things that the Talk Institute provides that's different from what school does. Number one, the biggest, parents are there. Parents are involved. When your kids are at school, you don't necessarily know what they're covering. You might get an idea from a letter that goes home from school telling you the topics, but you don't know how your child has processed the information. You weren't there to fill in the values that you have or what your 2 cents are about things. And oftentimes when your child comes home and you ask, hey, what did you learn? Nothing. They're not gonna have the skills necessarily that they're gonna need to be able to talk about this, okay? And that's something that the Talk Institute really spends a lot of time on, is skill building. They're gonna get the information maybe from school, maybe from the internet, but what's different about what we're doing in our programs is we provide an environment where a community comes together of your choosing. You get to decide who's in your program. So you can choose some like-minded families and your child's friends and bring them together, and I literally come to your living room and I can customize the program. I don't have the bureaucracy of the school system. I do abide or try to teach to the level of what California Ed Code and standards are, and it can teach that, of course. But if some groups, want to have a little more about a different subject or include other things, I'm able to really customize it for the group and, spend more time on things. And what is especially unique, I think, is the time that is created during the program for you to connect and talk to your own child, okay? So for example, and oftentimes in our programs, there'll be a portion where the parent or the adult that's with the child is interviewed. They get interviewed about what their experience was when you were their age, and who did you talk to or who didn't you talk to and why. Were there any embarrassing or awkward moments you had? And if for some reason I can't or don't feel comfortable coming to you about something, who would you feel good about me going to? These are some of the opportunities that are created during the talk program that you're not going to get from school. They just can't do that because you're... Sex ed is a whole lot more than just a bunch of facts and information about birth control and STDs, okay? We're talking about healthy relationships. We're talking about our relationships with our bodies and with others, romantic ones someday, what those should look and feel like. And there are so many values wrapped up into sexuality. And it's such a good topic for families to talk about, but they don't know how. We want to, but it's tough. Maybe your parents didn't talk to you about this stuff. I know mine didn't. It was very hard for my mom to talk to me about this. And I hear stories from other families like that all the time, that their families also, struggled as well. This is hard. This is why we need a guide, okay? You need a guide for your family to come in and walk your family through a program that is designed for you, that's developmentally appropriate, that I can weave in topics of your choosing into with the people that you love and care about and that are most influential in your own child's life. Get to be there. It's so amazing. Some of the after math effects, I guess, of the program that people don't really consider or think about is when you have a community of people your child knows, like other moms or other dads of your child's friends. Now they have other families they can go to that they can trust, And maybe, you know, it's not as weird if like your child is at, you know, their friend's house at a sleepover and she gets her period. It's not going to be as strange to be like, hey, you know, Miss Jones, do you have a pad or a tampon I could use? Because they've been through our program, it's less weird. We've talked about it. It's not a big deal. We've normalized something that is super normal. And there's a lot of that needs to go on. And that takes a lot of expertise. Something else that schools don't have is the expertise that I bring in. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I have a lot of practice. Most teachers, if they teach sex ed, they teach it for 2 weeks, once a year. I teach all the time. I teach like 10 programs a week. And this is something that like, this is my jam. I do this is my specialty. And I've had a lot of training in a lot of areas. I stay up to date on things. And this is something that there is a finesse to talking about, especially when you have families together. There's a finesse to how you describe things that helps be correct and concise, but also comfortable, right? So that people aren't cringy while they're learning about sexuality, because sometimes that can be a turnoff for people if it's a little too much, right? And to have you know, some pace to it is helpful, and that's why there's a series for the sex ed. There's a sex ed series because it takes time. It takes time to practice the skill of talking, and that's what we're doing. It's a skill. I think we forget that. It's really hard to have talks like this. It's hard. It was hard for us when we were kids, and it might be hard for us now as parents. And you can't just assume that like your child's going to know how to do that. When things get embarrassing and awkward and it's something you haven't practiced, it's going to be hard. And they need to practice with you so that when they have a partner someday, they have the skill of talking about uncomfortable, embarrassing, awkward things. And sex is all of those things. When you're learning, it's all of those things. And they need to be able to talk about that with a partner without it being like super weird. They need to be able to work through that. Okay, so those are some of the things that I think are super different about the talk. There's a million of other things I think that are unique in that once you're here and you're experiencing the program, I've never had somebody say, man, that was a waste of my money. I don't think I've ever heard anyone ever say that to me. And I know that even if you're talking to your kids now, and this is something that they do get in school, this only helps. I'm not their mom. Sometimes other people saying what you've said, it validates you. We need that. Our kids need that validation. We all do. It's not just kids, it's all of us. When we're close to people, when we're really close to people, sometimes we listen, but we don't hear them, right? And it might take someone else coming in before it really sets in. So just make sure that if it's not me that's doing that for your family, that you do find a community of other people to support you in this journey, because it does take a village. And I wish you luck if you use me or stick with the school. Good luck, and please take advantage of all of my program, my free stuff out there, and make sure that you're doing all that you can at home, especially if you're going to rely on the school to take care of this. Okay? All right. Jen Elledge here. Talk to you soon. Bye.